It seems like everyone says the gear doesn't matter. And of course, it always seems like the people who say this are the ones who have tens of thousands of dollars worth of camera gear. And I'm not trying to slight them at all, but gear does matter. I would actually even say that gear matters more as a beginner than it does as a pro. And that's because of stuff like the learning experience of higher quality cameras and the confidence boost you get from filming on literally anything other than your iPhone or Android if you're one of those people. But when it comes to gear in the beginner's stage of things and really the intermediate and pro side of things, it's all about how to best spend your money to get the gear that you really need to make a better product. Now, I thought that it might be helpful to you if I made like a sort of tier list thing ranking all of the pieces of technology or gear that I use for making my videos or my vlogs, whatever it might be, so you have more of a visual representation of how important they are to what I do and their value in terms of whether they're worth the huge investment you need to put into it. Oh, and sometimes it's not a huge investment at all. Sometimes it's like super cheap. But just before we get started, I would certainly appreciate it if you considered hitting the like button on this video and or subscribing to my channel. It helps support me and it's free to you. So it's like a not anything and a win for me, and I'd appreciate it. I think like anybody who subscribes to YouTubers should get a tax write-off or something, like charity. Anyway, moving on. Not all of these items are going to be gear in the traditional sense, but they all will hopefully improve your video quality and or your workflow. Number one, a Joby Gorillapod. Now, I'm sure you've seen these things. They were made famous by Casey Neistat, probably the most popular vlogger ever. And these tripods are super popular and good for vloggers, but that's kind of just about it. During vlog season, it is almost always on my camera. I only ever take it off to stow my stuff away. Like, it's super useful. But when it's not vlog season, it rarely ever leaves my camera bag. So like, if you were a vlogger, I'd put it in S tier, but for me, I'm gonna have to move it down, probably to C tier for any other type of video use. It's just not the most practical thing when you've got more time and space to like set things up. Number two, cheap softbox lighting. S tier, all the way. Why is that? It's because lighting is absolutely crucial to literally everything, especially if you're shooting on a lower quality camera like a lot of beginners do, say a smartphone camera. My setup cost me like 150 bucks on Amazon and it's still working perfectly fine 3 years later, though it is kind of falling apart at this point. Cheap softbox lighting or softbox lighting in general is just essential for any beginner, pro, or whatever. Okay, we all love and want number three. Number three is a drone. You might think that I, of all people, would say that beginners should not waste their money on a drone, but au contraire. I think a drone is one of the first things that you should invest in after you've got your whole main camera and audio setup. This is for a super simple reason. Drones go where nothing else goes. And if you're trying to make films, shorts, vlogs, whatever, you're gonna need cameras that can go other places, like where a drone goes. So why would you spend money upgrading something else that you already have instead of getting a type of camera that can do something you couldn't even do before? That's why I say people should invest in a drone kind of early on, just a beginner drone, nothing crazy. I think I'm gonna put it in B tier because it's super expensive, but they are one of the first things I would say that you should expand your plethora of camera gear into. Number four, lavalier microphones. They're a pain in the butt that's not worth doing at all unless you're in a certain situation that calls for you using it, like maybe a super loud area, you've got multiple people that you're trying to mic up, or you're really far away from the camera. I've practically never used them, so wait before you know that you're going to need to use it for a project before you buy or even rent them. I'm gonna put it in D tier with the caveat that it could be A tier in the correct circumstances. Number five, smartphone shotgun microphones. They're an F tier because they always break, and when you upgrade to a better camera, they're just gonna collect dust on the shelf. Use a regular shotgun mic, which is a bonus item and an S tier piece of gear, instead of those ones that are specially made for smartphones, and just adapt it to your smartphone instead. Now let's look at number six. This is the big one. It's a DSLR or mirrorless camera. Now this item is tough because they're really expensive, but there's nothing quite like the feeling and confidence boost that you get when using one. Nowadays, people are used to seeing others film themselves with their cell phones, But if you pull out a big old camera, suddenly you're like the real deal, you know? At least that's how I feel about it. Obviously, there's technical aspects that make a DSLR or mirrorless camera way better than your cell phone. So don't forget to research whatever camera you're looking to get very thoroughly before you buy them. I could do a whole beginner's guide on DSLR and mirrorless cameras, but you know, that would take quite a while. Maybe that's a future video. Let's put it up in A tier for now. Number 7, gimbals. Very cool, but you will not need one in the beginning. Put that money toward a camera, D tier. Now we've got a large, lightweight tripod, S tier, baby. I take this thing pretty much anywhere. It's light enough to carry with a backpack, but solid enough to set up for a full-on studio session headshot thing like we're filming right now. You know, I've said this in videos before, but this is the one piece of tech that I cannot believe I lived without for so long. So save up $100, get a good, decent, lightweight tripod. Now number 9 is a thing that catches everybody's eye. It's the action cam or GoPro. Listen, I love my GoPro. I got it before I got my DSLR camera. It can do things that no other camera can do, much like a drone. The problem is, if I'm being honest, it just sits on my shelf 90% of the time. And for that, it gets a C tier. I've made videos specifically about the GoPro, multiple of them, so feel free to check those out up here if you want a more in-depth explanation of when I do and don't use this little guy. Finally, last but not least, let's talk about editing computers. A tier all the way. You don't need to get anything absurd or really awesome. I mean, I don't even know that much about computers, but it just needs to be able to run a pro editing software like DaVinci Resolve well. Trust me, if your editing computer is slow, your life will be miserable trying to make these videos happen. It's gonna be an investment, but it will be worth it, even though it's not all that fun. I use a Dell XPS and I like it. It's nice and portable because it's a laptop, and that's really important to me because I want to be able to take my computer anywhere and get those edits done if I'm on, well, not location, but just not home. Maybe someday I'll be on location somewhere. So there you have it. That is my camera tier list, camera gear tier list. If I missed something, feel free, hit me up in the comments below. I'll let you know my opinion on it. That said, if you made it this far in the video, you might as well go ahead and like it. I appreciate your support, and I hope that you remember that you are an awesome human being. See you later.